Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a special edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. This is the CONCACAF Champions Cup Round 1, first leg, Major League Soccer review. Majority of the clubs from MLS performed last week in their first leg matches. And, of course, this week will be their second leg matches. Due to me actually being away this weekend, I was down in Orlando for the New York Red Bulls season opener against Orlando City. So that's why there was no show on Friday to review, and I was down in Orlando to cover the match on the Red Bulls. But once again, you can always follow me over at Beyond the 90 at beyondthe90.substack.com, locally on New York Sports over at baddogsports.com. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube to get your daily American soccer content. Chat room is open here on YouTube. Please come on in, discuss amongst yourselves if you like. If you have a question for me, I try to answer the best of my abilities. So, great matches for the MLS clubs. Solid performances all the way around. Of course, one side gained, well, I should say the majority of the MLS sides did gain an advantage on the away goals in the first leg. Of course, we got one match that did end in a scoreless draw. But, you know, what can you say about these games? It's been unbelievable so far. And, you know, yes, you're facing some of these clubs in the lower, I wouldn't say the lower levels, but let's just be honest. These leagues in Central America and in the Caribbean, obviously league-wise, they're not as strong, you know, but the national teams is a completely different story in CONCACAF. So, you know, that's what we just have to look forward to. And we will see what happens down the road here, and we'll see what the situations will be when we get to the round of 16. And don't forget, you will have the Caribbean Cup champions and the Central American Cup champions joining in the round of 16 with Seattle Sounders and with Toluca and with Inter Miami. So that should be exciting. That should be a lot of fun. Now, I want to go back to my second leg Liga MX review show of the first round. Some of you were making some comments towards me about, you know, why are you talking politics? Well, first of all, let me just say this. There are no political conversations here on this show. This show talks about sports. Okay? I'm not talking anything from CNN. I'm not talking anything from MSNBC or CNBC or Fox News Channel or Newsmax or News Nation or anything from ABC, CBS, NBC, such and such and so on, not even the BBC. Okay? This show, and I want to be clear to everybody here, this show talks about soccer, football in North America. What goes on in the United States, what also goes on in Mexico, and what goes on in Canada and in the region of CONCACAF. I don't speak about the political news departments across this land. I don't. What do I talk about? I talk about broadcasting soccer events that is either Major League Soccer related, U.S. Open Cup related, the U.S. men's national team related, U.S. women's national team related, CONCACAF Gold Cup, CONCACAF Nations League, CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, the World Cup itself. Because we must always remain objective and informative to all of you who care about the game in this region. And that's it. And my rant was towards Fox Sports. Let's just be clear about this. I didn't say anything about Fox News. I didn't say anything about Fox News affiliates. I didn't say anything about the broadcasters or the news reporters on Fox News. No, I'm talking about the people at Fox Sports who continue to show disrespect to this game in our region. because I depend on Fox Sports not just to broadcast the glory of the World Cup, not just to broadcast the glory of all these national teams coming from Europe, from South America, from Africa, from Asia, from within CONCACAF and Oceania. Okay? If you are trying to be the network to showcase international soccer in this region, either on the club side or on the national team side, then what I ask of you to do is to show the same care and commitment that all these other networks are doing. Okay? I need to see this because, once again, and for those of you that are not paying attention, and for those of you that don't know this, and I don't mind sharing it because this is my background. I worked at a sports news service. I worked at a place of business where we used satellites to bring in signals of games across the country and across the world, whether it be through NBC, ABC, CBS, ESPN, Fox Sports, and Fox, I should say. The sports networks that are part of this nation, in this country, okay, if they are devoted to the game of football, the game of soccer, I'm not talking about just Univision, I'm not talking about just Telemundo, I'm talking about the English language sports networks. ESPN is a given. NBC, since taking over the Premier League coverage, has done an exceptional job. CBS Sports now doing an excellent job of covering not only the Serie A, not only covering USL, not only doing now Open Cup, CONCACAF Nations League, CONCACAF World Cup qualifying in the final round, but they are doing a job. Turner Network Television, TNT, now only doing U.S. men's and U.S. women's national team games, friendlies, World Cup qualifying games for the home games, the two Nations League matches in November, whenever it's a Nations League year for the U.S. men's national team. Okay? They're doing an excellent job. But when you are looking for a network that wants to show your clubs and your national team on the international stage, that is where you look for Fox Sports. They signed up for this. They signed up to cover the CONCACAF Champions Cup, not just the Gold Cup, not just the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship and the CONCACAF Under-17 Championship, but for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And until they prove to me and they prove to you otherwise that they are able to go out and put on a broadcast from start to finish and to show us they can actually do a job and not interfere with it, then by all means, I will give them their due. I am not here to rain on anyone's parade. I am not here to say blindly that Fox Sports can't do a job. They prove it all on their own and working in the industry, working in the business that I have. Granted, it wasn't with ABC, it wasn't with CBS, it wasn't with NBC or ESPN or Fox or any other sports network or, national sports network or whatever have you. Fine. But the company I worked at, we had deals with NBC, sending highlights to all the sports news affiliates. We were a hub in New Jersey, behind the Meadowlands, that anytime someone from an affiliate of NBC, from Canada, from TSN or Rogers Sportsnet, would come to our building and they would have to feed out things and that we would help them out. So I was part of this. That was my major. I studied television production. And that is why I give a harsher grade to those at Fox Sports. They only care about the ratings, and I understand that. I understand ratings makes the world go round because it's money. And I understand they're going to get a lot of money with the now expanded 48-team World Cup. I understand all this. But once again, you got to know your audience. You cannot spite your own audience. Not everyone has the money to travel away to watch their club going to Mexico, going to Costa Rica, going to Honduras, going to Jamaica, going to Trinidad and Tobago, to the Dominican Republic, to Panama, to any of these clubs in those countries. Not everyone has that type of money. For a hotel, for a plane, for the tickets, and for buying food at the local bazaars across Central America, across Mexico, and across the Caribbean. Just because there's a McDonald's doesn't mean that it's what you think it's going to be. But the point is this. When someone like myself is depending on Fox Sports to show from 0 to 90 for those 2 hours, Fox Sports has to show why they deserve the contract with CONCACAF. They have to prove to us why they deserve this deal. Why? And if they're not going to do the job themselves, well, then give it to somebody else who can. Give it to ESPN. Give it to CBS Sports. Give it to NBC. Let them show it on USA Network. Let's show it on Peacock. Show it on Paramount Plus, ESPN Plus. All I'm asking for from Fox Sports is that you do not deviate from your broadcast unless it is a major issue. And I'm talking about a very important former athlete who passed away, a tragedy at a sporting event. That I can understand. That I can live with, because you have to move away from it, because this is more important news coming out. If it's a sports news, if it's a sporting news, then so be it. But if not, leave it alone. Leave it alone and do not remove it. Period. And that's why I get angry. And that's why I get upset. And that is why I am sick and tired of the shenanigans from Fox Sports. And that's why I even said it on this show. I wrote about it on Beyond the 90. It's time for CBS to come in, and whenever the deal with Fox is over with CONCACAF, take the Gold Cup, take the under 20 tournament, take the under 17 tournament, take the CONCACAF Champions Cup for yourselves, put it on CBS, put it on CBS Sports Network, put it on True TV, put it on any CBS owned channels, put it on Paramount Plus. Go for it. Because why? Because I know, at least I feel more comfortable with people who care about what type of product that they have and how they broadcast it on their airwaves. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all I ask. Look, UEFA Champions League, that's the golden standard. That's an automatic. I don't have to worry about that. We know where that's going. CONCACAF Champions Cup, this is where you need to build the game in this country, in this region, and to show it the damn respect it deserves. Because once again, I'm not saying that CONCACAF Champions Cup is just as good as the UEFA Champions League. No, because I'd be lying to you. But what people need to understand is that is our Champions League right there. whether you like it or not. This is our Champions League. Okay? If we don't have this, then what's the point? And that's all I can say about that. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the CONCACAF Champions Cup Round 1 first leg review show for the clubs in Major League Soccer. Joining me right now, he covers the Philadelphia Union for Philadelphia Soccer Now. Evan Koenigsberg joining me for tonight's big show. Evan, thanks again for coming on. Hope you're well. And big match for the Philadelphia Union on the road in that first leg. And look, Defense Force, really not really, a very hard opponent to face. But, look, the Union got the job done. That's all you can really ask. And they're going to be back home at Subaru Park for that second leg.
Yeah, so first of all, Dan, thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it. Always love coming on. And before I get into how the Union performed, I just wanted to, kind of give props to Defense Force for making it this far. They're a smaller team from Trinidad with actually a lot of history. I got the chance to put up a piece with Philadelphia Soccer Now where I spoke with a member of Soca Warriors, which is a site that discusses soccer in Trinidad and Tobago. And they gave me a backstory of Defense Force. And Defense Force actually has 2 CONCACAF Champions Cup titles, which is more than the Union have. So we got to hand them respect for that. But in this day and age, the Union, with all the money in MLS, obviously had the upper hand in this one. So, and a couple familiar faces you might recognize with Defense Force. Jovan Jones played 2 MLS Cups with Seattle Sounders. And Kevin Molino played for Minnesota United and Orlando. So he was also on Defense Force in the twilight of his career. But just cool to see those guys back on the field again, staying in North America. And yeah, I mean, the Union, once they got that first goal, the floodgates opened and it was smooth sailing from there. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, I got to tell you, Evan, like I said, Defense Force, they don't have obviously the financial resources that all MLS clubs have. And, I'm not trying to poo-poo them. I'm not trying to, throw them away or anything like that. We know they're going to fight. They're going to claw and scratch. They're going to try and, make their names known throughout the region. Hey, look, we're taking on the Philadelphia Union. Look what they've done in MLS here, MLS there. They've made an MLS Cup final. They've made 3 Open Cup finals. Watch us go after these guys, and you'll be proud of us. And look, there's nothing more you can say or do. It's just the Union are too powerful, too strong. And going down to Trinidad was the most important of them all. You get 4 away goals. That's a major hill for them to climb for defensive sport. And, once again, it's just Defensive Force, excuse me. They just, there's nothing you can do about it. Just got to, I shouldn't say grin and bear it or just take it, but, look, they're going to try their best and the Union's just too strong.
Yeah, I mean, 5-0 was that final score. It answered a lot of the questions that Union fans might have had with this season about where people are going to start the field positionally. Some that might have been opened up last weekend, but we don't have to get into that quite yet. A guy that I want to point out, obviously with Kai Wagner out the door, was Frankie Westfield, who is a young homegrown on the Union, started the game at left back. He's right-footed. And that second goal to Ezekiel Alado, if you guys go find that highlight, watch that highlight. Frankie Westfield picks the ball up on the left side with his left foot, non-dominant left foot, and crosses a inch-perfect ball to Alado, and he finishes it brilliantly. So Westfield was great in this match. Olaski had a free kick and an assist on a corner kick. Damiani off the bench with 2 goals in the second half, which is great when you can bring in your second highest, most expensive player in club history off the bench in a game like this. And Kevin Sullivan assisted that 4th goal as well. So good for the young Kevin.
I have to ask you this, though, and, this is obviously not a Champions Cup question, but more like a Union question. I was surprised to see Kai Wagner leaving for Europe. I didn't expect him to go. I thought maybe he was just going to remain with the Union until he retired, but I guess there was that clause in his contract that there's a club in Europe, asking for him to come to them. Obviously, the Union had to let him go, but were you surprised at that move that happened?
For me, what I tell people, because I've got this question a lot, when Kai Wagner came over at like 24 years old, I think it was, after those first 2 seasons, you would have thought, he would have gone. And then once he didn't, it's almost the opposite thinking. Okay, if he would have ever gone, he would have gone then. My honest take on it all is I am just surprised at how long this all took. It's not that Kai was out there peddling anything, but he was listening to offers and completed a couple medicals along the way. But what he claimed was that he didn't want to go to a place that he wasn't sure about. So if there was an offer that came in that the Union were fine with accepting, but Kai didn't want to move there, or the team didn't play the style of play he wanted to, he didn't go. So he stuck around for a while, but eventually the offer came in and the Union wanted to do right by the player. They let him go. So moving forward, I see a lot of Union fans online saying, well, you can't replace Kai. I don't really disagree with that. At this level, it's hard to find a player that can do all of that. But what you can do is you can play a different way. You can move the team around in a way that maybe once a left back signing is in, hint, you can move Frankie Westfield to the right side and play him a little bit higher up the field so we can ping crosses into the box. Maybe there's a change in formation. I don't know. But the replacing Kai Wagner in terms of his chances created doesn't just mean signing an all action left back. It can show up in other ways. And I think using Frankie Westfield a little higher up the field on either side is a great way of doing that.
No, I agree with you there. And obviously, we all know the Union, they churn talented players from their Union 2 side in MLS Next Pro. And I bet there was already players ready to take over that position once both Kai Wagner and, the Israeli international was, which I was very surprised by Ty Baribo. Yeah, I was so surprised they let him go to DC. I was shocked. I mean, it wasn't fitting anymore, or they just felt it was time for him to move. I mean, it was only for a short period of time, Baribo.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into the Baribo transfer. And I'm going to start with kind of the end of the circle back a little bit. If I'm in charge, I'm not in charge, but if I'm in charge, what I say is I don't want to sell to the Eastern Conference. Like, think of Jacob Glesnes, right? Jacob Glesnes is going to get a new contract. He goes to LA Galaxy. You play him once every 2 years, whatever. The Union do not care about that at all. You see with Daniel Gazdag, Issa Tall calls them, hey, is Daniel Gazdag available? Why, yes, of course he's available. They move him on to Columbus, who they play home and home every year. So it hurts, but the story of Baribo with the Union, he came in that 2024 season under Jim Curtin and didn't really play at all. And it was very strange. We saw Chris Donovan get a lot of minutes over him, and no hate on Chris Donovan. I love Chris Donovan, PIAA soccer legend, Conestoga High School. But Ty Baribo was not a favorite of Jim Curtin's for one reason or another. I don't know if it's how he trained, but then in that League's Cup run that year, there were so many injuries that he had to play, and he came in and looked great. And so when Curtin was on the way out, Baribo got a much larger role under Bradley Carnell for that season with the 16 goals we saw last year. But even towards the end of the season last year, the end of the regular season, Ty Baribo was coming off the bench with Bruno Damiani and Michael Ua starting ahead of him. So it was just a very weird season. He started off very hot, but towards the end of the season kind of fell out of favor. And I think the Union, if they really liked Ty Baribo, would have kept him. But for one reason or another, he fell out of favor. And that's just how it goes.
Absolutely. Going back into the match, obviously, as you said, Jovan Jones got double yellow, then red card. Now, was that in second half stoppage time, that second yellow, or was it after the final whistle was blown?
This one was in second half stoppage time. So this one was late in the game. And I have to say, this is, to circle back to Kevin Sullivan, this is, I think, the year that we're going to start seeing him make an impact because he came in off the bench, and he's taking players on. And this second yellow card was Kevin Sullivan picked up the ball in midfield, body feinted inside and pushed the ball down the line, and Jovan Jones dove in and just completely missed the ball and took him out, and he was sent off. Some people were upset about this just because, it's a rough game and Kevin's just a kid, but if you're going to play at the senior level, you're going to get some tackles thrown in at you. So there's a sending off for Jovan Jones, which is unfortunate because he's one of their better players and they're going to be missing him in the second leg. So
exactly. And look, like I agree with you. I mean, national team player. I mean, I don't know if he's still getting called in for Trinidad, and if he is, he's probably coming off the bench. We'll see what Dwight York will do with them in the future, unless Dwight York does leave the national team. We'll find out somewhere down the road, obviously. But once again, a very, very comfortable victory, 5-0 on the road in the first leg, all 5 away goals, and a big advantage. Next week, this week now, their second leg matchup, but once again against Defense Force. And look, I think we all know the real answer here. You have a 5-goal lead in the aggregate on away goals. Try not to allow Defense Force to chip away at that aggregate advantage. Right. Just, probably like another goal or two, make it 7-0 on aggregate, and then just call it a night.
Right. So I'm sure people watching this will be familiar with how the Union operate. Expect to see the kids on Thursday. If you want to see Calvin Sullivan for $10, get down to Subaru Park. I anticipate them to go young with this lineup. I think that they have faith in their bench options. You saw this weekend, Bradley Carnell gave Finn Sundstrom his MLS debut out of position because he believes in the kid that much. So I think they're going to go young on this lineup. They're going to go for rest over preventing the rust, which you see many MLS teams, once they get into the late in the CONCACAF window, the players get tired, their results in MLS drop, and they're like, oh, but we were in CONCACAF this year. They're probably going to play this one as safe as possible, if I had to guess.
No, I agree, and they should. Look, unless something weird happens, I'll be honest with you. Look, I don't want the term CONCACAF to pop up on the Union because we all know this. If there's a red card flying around and it's going to go against the Union, and if it comes early in the match, they'll probably bunker in the rest of the way, but you never know. Yeah. You never know. We've seen stranger things happen in this confederation than normal. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Union fans will think of that home match against Saprissa that I think ended 2-2, and the Union ended up going through anyways. I think there's too much of a cushion this time for it to happen, but who knows?
Absolutely. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen when you get these types of games happening in CONCACAF. That's the crazy stuff. It's who's the wild card referee that you're going to get drawn this one,
Right.
Is it the luck of the straw, or is it the magician's magic hat with the card popping out of it?
Yeah, as long as we're not playing at the stadium with the big old tree in the Dominican Republic.
Now, that's where the bad things happen. I have to tell you, that's a cool place, actually. I don't mind that with that huge tree on the right side of the stadium.
I think it's sick.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm. I just always think of that Austin FC Violet game where they lost 3-1, I think it was. Every time I see that tree, I think of that. Yeah. Exactly. Shout out to FC Cincinnati for leaning into that one really big this
Thank God. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I would love to check out that stadium. See, it's like the old-fashioned baseball stadiums, You like those quirky, those little quirky things on the stadium, like what was it, Crosley Field, or when Houston used to have that hill in the back of center field.
Yeah.
That hill.
Yeah, they had the poles coming out of the hill in the field of play. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the flagpole that out of the center field. I know, it's just crazy stuff. Which is now it's just a regular fence.
Yeah, they took it out.
It's absolutely incredible. Evan, I always appreciate your time coming on the show. Thanks again. I'll talk to you again soon. And you have a good night, my friend. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks so much. You too.
Evan Konigsberg from Philadelphia Soccer Now. The Philadelphia Union are going to host Defense Force in the second leg this week. And it should be exciting. And it should be a lot of fun. My next guest, of course, still enjoying an Open Cup championship. But now Nashville SC is in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Joining me from 615 Soccer is the one and only Valair Schballa, who joins me right now. Valair, welcome back. Happy New Year, my friend. I hope you're doing great and everything's fine in Nashville. I would have to say an easier road trip, not too far, just a little bit north going into Canada to take on Atletico Ottawa. And, your perspective of the Canadian Premier League side that Nashville had to face off against in their first leg matchup.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I think for Atletico Ottawa, I think they impressed me for sure, and they impressed others who watched the game. Obviously, Nashville went in there with a rotated side, but this was the first time Nashville have been playing a Canadian Premier League team. When Nashville were in USL, the Ottawa Fury were also in USL. So they faced against each other a few times, and there were some fun connections there. But this is a different incarnation. This is a different team. This is a different league, and it's been years since that happened. So I really didn't know where the Canadian Premier League is. But playing the champion, obviously, with the lower leagues here in North America, most of your players don't return, right? So I wasn't really sure where they're going to be, but they're a very well coached team. I think you can tell by that. And then they weren't playing at home either, which is something that is important to note because they were in Hamilton while Nashville traveled longer, but Athletic Ottawa still had to travel like 300 miles or something like that. So it was not a short trip for them either. And I think they impressed, even though they lost 2-0. And honestly, especially that first half, they seemed like the more put together team than Nashville. I think Nashville had a lot of sort of missed passes and stuff like that. Eventually, they caught steam and quality eventually showed. But yeah, good match by Athletic Ottawa. At home in Nashville, I think it's going to be a different story. I do believe it's still going to be a rotated side, but I think it's going to be really hard to get a result out of Geodis Park.
No, I agree. I think they're going to have a tough time going down there to Geodis and to trying to pick apart your guys over there. And look, I think Ottawa. I mean, I haven't watched many Canadian Premier League matches. Whenever it's on like Fox Sports 2 or Fox Soccer Plus or whatever, you get the occasional game of the week, I guess, from Canada. Look, there are some solid players over there. There are some solid teams over there. I think they can give a run for the money against an MLS side if they're, same level. I mean, obviously Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver are the big boys in Canada. So that's going to be a difference of a story over there. Of course, they have their Canadian Championship, aka out their Open Cup. So we'll see what happens, I guess, if it ever does come to fruition, if it's like a regular occurrence in Champions Cup play. But I understand they're backed by Atletico Madrid, which I never knew. I thought it was just, we'll just pick a name out of the hat. We'll just call it Atletico Ottawa. No, they're owned by Atletico Madrid from Spain.
Yeah, it's them and Mexico and a team in Mexico called Atletico San Luis, maybe. I might be missing the name up, but yes, they're all owned by the same parent company. And there's actually a lot of loans between Mexico and the Canadian Premier League for younger players to kind of prove themselves. I don't think we'll see any Atletico Madrid players come into loan to Canada, but between the Mexican and the Canadian team, there's a little bit of movement. And I mean, it can't hurt to have that connection. It is funny to have the name Atletico Ottawa, though. I just think that it's a little when I think of Ottawa, I don't think the word Atletico necessarily, but it has worked out, and they clearly are the Canadian champions at the moment. Well, the Canadian Premier League champions at the moment, so you gotta respect them for that.
To all my Canadian friends, do not come at me when I do this. Athletic A, is that what it is? That's what it should be. I don't know. I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking around. Please, I like you guys. Don't worry about it. But anyway, let's go ahead to the match. Like you said, they really took it to you guys in the first half. And what really amazed me, to be honest with you, Valair, was that this was a clean game. Hard-working game from both sides. Nothing silly, nothing stupid. Strong tackles, smart tackles, nothing overly violent. Not even a red card to come out of the back pocket out of nowhere. Very clean game. And I mean, look, I that's what you love to see. That's what you want to see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in the first half, it was kind of back and forth. It got a little physical, but nothing that was egregious. And I think both teams had proper amount of respect for each other. At the end of the first half, Nashville started kind of getting their bearings a little bit. I think it really had to do with that feeling of continuing the preseason rather than starting the season. It just felt like continuation of that for both teams. And to be fair to Ottawa, their season doesn't even start for like another 6 weeks, I think, 5 weeks from today. So they're starting really early for them. But yeah, I mean, it was a good contest. I think at the end of the day, Nashville earned the win and deserved the win. However, it didn't come easy. There was a goal line clearance that was done like in the 90th minute or so by Josh Bauer from Nashville. There were a couple other really good chances by Ottawa that were kind of put away. So it wasn't a case that like, oh, this result could have been 4 or 5-0. I mean, Nashville put a better beating on New England in the weekend than they did against Athletic Ottawa. Now, to be fair, two different groups of Nashville players. I did think it was amazing the difference once the superstars entered for Nashville. So Andy Nahart comes in, Christian Espinoza, Sam Surridge, and Hani Mukhtar. And I mean, like, these are all MLS All-Stars coming in, and the difference was immediate. And they were able to kind of take Ottawa down to a level that we haven't seen that whole match. But also it came because Ottawa were pushing for that goal, and they were just sitting and kind of expecting to absorb more pressure. So it allowed for a little bit more space. And when you give players like that space, that's where the second goal came in. And Sam Surridge could have had one before that one actually as well. But yeah, they end up getting another goal and heading back home to Nashville with a two away goals.
Yep. No, absolutely. And tell me about Wubin's. If I mess up his last name, please let me know, and I'll give you the $20. Pacius. Pacius, thank you very much. That goal was pretty good. I like what I saw from him. What is about Pacius that excites you for him? And I'm assuming this is his first season with Nashville.
No, he's been a Nashville player since last season, but he hasn't played a single game for Nashville SC because he requires an international slot. So he's a Haitian international born in Canada. Well, raised in Canada. I don't know if he was born there actually, now that I think about it. Used to play in that stadium that he scored. That was his home stadium. He scored like 50 odd goals in the Canadian Premier League, earned a move to Nashville, and then spent most of his first season injured actually with Nashville SC, unfortunately, and then played with Huntsville City for a little bit. Then got a loan move last season to the Tampa Bay Rowdies of the USL. I think he ended up scoring like 16 goals there, maybe 15 goals there, which is a really good return for a lone player. And obviously Nashville SC saw enough of him to give him that international slot and give him a real shot at the first team. And he ends up scoring the first goal for Nashville SC season in 2026. Really, really highly rated guy. He plays for the Haiti international team. And, he is a striker by trade, but he's very much involved in the sort of he's kind of a second striker, really, when it comes to it. He's involved in play. He's kind of a link-up guy and is able to make the right movements there. He's been waiting for this chance for a while, and you can see as soon as he got it, he was able to repay BJ Callahan's trust. He also made an appearance in the MLS match, so he made his MLS debut. He made his Nashville debut, and then a few days later made his MLS debut as well, which is pretty cool to see. And I would assume that he has a big part to play this season as Nashville compete in all 4 competitions.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. But still, that's a great get for you guys over there. And of course, we all know Sam Surridge, reliable Sam Surridge, finding a way to get that second goal, obviously in second half stoppage time, just to add on to the goal aggregate and the away goals, is, of course, and 2-0 in favor for Nashville. What is it for, ever since Sam came over from England and was just lighting up the net for Nashville? What can you attest to all of this happening with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he always had the quality, and he was always able to score even in England. Now, he didn't get as much of a chance with his last team, and he wasn't able to maybe he helped them get promoted to the Premier League. And then when they got to the Premier League, they were like, well, we're not going to play a championship striker. So he ended up playing some of the cup games, got a couple goals out of those, and being sold to Nashville. Coming to Nashville, I think he started off really hot, had a shaky little bit of a time. Coach gets fired, gets in another coach. Things start shifting around for him, and he starts kind of finding his stride. I think for him, he got a contract extension. He was linked with Wolves in the Premier League. He was linked with Ipswich in the Championship, and he just signed a new contract with Nashville SC 2 days ago. And when we asked him why that was, his response was that he wanted to be in a place where he felt loved and appreciated and supported. And he said Nashville SC gave all that to him. And that, yes, it would be cool if he went back and played in England, but it's also cool for him to be a legend at Nashville SC at 35 or whatever. So he has really good perspective. I think he feels really loved by the fans, but also by the club. And he's just showing his quality that he's always had. And I think there are actually more goals in him. When you look at that match in Ottawa, when you look at the New England match, even just 2 matches this season, he already has 3 goals. And it's crazy because I'm sitting here being like, he could have had 5 in those 2 matches. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where he finds what really separates him from others, and is that he has this amazing capability to do all the dirty work, to track back, to defend, to actually press really well, and to work off the ball. He's not sitting there waiting for you to give him the ball so he can score. He gets stereotyped because of his height and his size and where he comes from, but he's not that type of player. He's actually he connects really well with his teammates. We saw that in the goal with Espinoza, Mukhtar, and him. And it's just he really showcases sort of the ideal team player who can also get you 25, 30 goals a season.
No, absolutely. I wanted to ask you this, and then I think this is the shame of this entire situation. When you play in MLS and you're battling in the different competitions that you are designated in the United States as well as internationally in CONCACAF, and of course what happens in UEFA and South America, CONMEBOL, you win the Open Cup, and now you get the opportunity. You do not get the opportunity to defend it. You only go to the Champions Cup and the Leagues Cup. What's your thought process of that? And I feel you should be able to defend that title. Why do you feel that's a travesty, or do you feel, look, it is what it is, there's nothing we can do about it?
No, I hate it. I really do. I think any team that wins a title and isn't able to defend it is kind of a shame. And happened to Orlando 2 years ago, I guess now. And I think it just showcases kind of where we are. And I don't think there's any sporting merit to this fake hierarchy that they have created. I think it's based on a business model that says Leagues Cup pays more than Open Cups, so we should keep Leagues Cup and not worry about the Open Cup as much. It's weird because if Nashville had a terrible season and still won the Open Cup, they would be in the Open Cup again. It's a really weird, convoluted way to do things. But look, I would be lying if I said I was shocked or surprised or anything like that with MLS and their decisions. I am very disappointed in it. I think every single U.S. team should compete in the Open Cup. I think it's something that could help the big teams, quote unquote, like even the Miamis of this world. They went to the Open Cup final and lost their Messi's first year. Even LAFC competed and they were in the final last season, right? I mean, I think I guess 2 seasons ago now. So it's like it's one of those things where even the big teams are clearly seeing the benefit of it. But I can't wait for the Leagues Cup to be gone and we go back to the normal sort of Open Cup and Champions Cup schedule.
Me too. Present company included. Real quick, 2-0 on the aggregate, 2 away goals, back to Giotis. I know we already talked about it. It's going to be tough for Atletico Ottawa to find a way to get goals. But like I've told my last guest, this is CONCACAF. You know what goes on in this confederation. Something wacky always happens. What are your thought process for the second leg coming up this week?
I'll answer that, but right before I do that, I want to tell you I have been to the stadium where with the tree. I have physically been there and covered a game there for Nashville SC versus Mocha FC, and it is as beautiful as it is on screen as it is in person. Their press box and VIP area is a bunch of concrete put together like in a steps sort of shape. I just loved it. And their Wi-Fi was just like some random router with like the password written on it. And these are the experiences that truly set CONCACAF And I wasn't the only one there, by the way. There were a lot of there were a good amount of Nashville fans who made that trip, which was really cool to see. That sort of feeling, that vibe occurs in our continent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To answer your question, I think when it comes to Ottawa, they, like you said, it's a CONCACAF Champions Cup game. This is their, this is the biggest game of their season. They have nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose. They're going to throw everything at it. This is what they are here for. They're not going to come into this and roll over and let you take a 1, 2, 3 goal lead. I think that they're going to be all up for it. And like you see in the box score, Nashville didn't go 2-0 up until the 90th plus minute. So when you're looking at that, I think you're going to see an Atletico Ottawa side that's up for it, that's ready to go. I do think Nashville playing at home does give them a little bit of a bigger boost on top of that. And I think a lot of these Nashville players who will participate tomorrow will have a lot more to prove, because they saw the starting lineup for the New England game, and there were only 2 reoccurring starters from the Ottawa game to the New England game. And I think they want to show BJ Callahan that, hey, he can trust them with a start as well. And what better way to do that than either to get a clean sheet or score a goal or any of that. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think quality-wise, it will be better than that one we saw last week, just because last week just seems like it was a little sloppy in terms of first game of the season, all that. I think there'll be a better quality. I do think this needs to be and will be probably a definitive win for Nashville SC. That said, if Ottawa can go out there and get a goal and start having some doubts about it, then I think it becomes a really good game for the neutral.
Absolutely. Valair, I always appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Good luck in the second leg on this Tuesday night, and expecting to see you in the round of 16. So have a good night, my friend, and thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Valair Schballa, 615 Soccer, as once again Nashville does it again, and we'll see what they do in their next match. My next guest right now, joining me from the Queen City in Cincinnati, Ohio, covering FC Cincinnati for Area Sports Net, the one and only Kenta Hagiwara. Kenta, welcome back. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Of course, don't forget, Kenta also covers Asian football for his own podcast, also for Bad Dog Sports, for anything Asian football. It's great to see you again, Kenta. FC Cincinnati taking on O&M FC. I mean, look, it's a destruction. There's nothing much more you can say or do. But, in your mind, what did you see that you liked from this first leg matchup?
I think most was the fact that FC Cincinnati were able to kind of control the midfield and not concede chances. I think sometimes even in these matches where you go up a bunch of goals, you'll see teams kind of get relaxed and give up some chances late in the match. And we didn't see that from Cincinnati. O&M had 1 goal or 1 shot the entire match. So it was, I'm pretty sure it was 17 shots to 1. It was a very one-sided match in that sense. And that's, I think, the biggest factor going into leg 2 is they really didn't create and generate any chances, and you're now up 4 goals going into the second leg. So you should feel pretty comfortable going into the home leg of the matchup here.
Yep, absolutely. And, just to tell you, I was surprised they brought over Tom Barlow from Cincinnati. Was that a free agency pickup, or was that a deal made between the two clubs?
I believe he was a free agent. I don't think they paid Red Bulls anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was with Chicago.
Or
last
Chicago.
year,
Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I believe he was a free agent after he had been in Chicago for 2 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep, something like that. Yeah. But I will say this. I thought, easy, taking it easy. I shouldn't say taking it easy, but you know what I mean. Easy matchup, get 2 goals early, move on into the second half, and then you get those 2 other goals. Unfortunately for Jabari, if he would have converted the penalty, he would have had a hat trick, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. But what did you make of O&M FC for a club that you've never seen before from the Dominican Republic, I believe?
They were very energetic. They were very physical, I think, at times, which, it's something that you might not expect going into some of these matchups, against a team that has the stature in MLS, right? I guess any of these MLS teams have the stature it's going into their stadium. They weren't kind of scared. They were aggressive on the ball, and they were very physical. And so that's why I think I was even more impressed that they were able to control the midfield as well as they did. When you're facing a team that's young and really energetic and really physical on the ball.
No, very great. Very good to hear. But still, though, Cincinnati doing the job. What did Pat Noonan say after the match was over with when they took the 4-0 victory in the first leg?
Yeah, I think he was happy with the performance. Jabari, speaking on him, I mean, he had missed a couple of chances, including the penalty. So I think he was very complimentary of the fact that despite he probably could have had 5 goals, 6 goals in that match, if we're being honest. So for him to be able to rebound off of that and get a couple late, not only is that good for for the scoreline, but it's also really good for his confidence going into the rest of the season, because he didn't necessarily get the greatest second half of last year. He came in the summer window to Cincinnati. So for him to kind of start this season off with a couple goals is I think a really good thing, and he'll play some very complimentary soccer to Denke as the season goes on as one of the striker options up top.
Absolutely. Kevin Denke, of course, back in his second season with Cincinnati. Off to a good start, I'd say, in that matchup, especially in that the first game of the season for FC Cincinnati. What anything different that you've seen him do on the pitch in that first leg matchup, or is it just the same old, same old?
I think there was a bit more familiarity with the team, right? It's like the second preseason that he has, a full season to kind of get to know the players, and to kind of the front office's credit, FC Cincinnati hasn't had a ton of turnover in their roster. So there's a bit of familiarity with a lot of the players that were on the pitch in O&M, and also, I guess, in the home season opener in MLS this past weekend, where you can kind of see the chemistry not being built. It's already not trying to be established. It's already been established from last season. So I think that was one of the concerns going into last season and throughout last season was, well, how is the player like Evander going to fare with Kevin Denke when they're both coming into the team and coming into a new system under Pat Noonan. And it feels like there's less of that, where you have a bit more familiarity, and that I think certainly helps. But Denke, before Emmanuel Latte last year, had broken the transfer record for an incoming transfer into MLS. So there's a big price tag attached to his name, and I think the second season there's an expectation that he delivers in that sense in terms of how many goals he can score and contribute to help this team win, because I mean they were only 1 point off at the end of the day from the Supporters Shield last year in MLS, and I think I guess this is year 5 for Pat Noonan. There's expectations for trophies, I think, for this team.
No, absolutely, and why not? Cincinnati's been very, very demanding of a club, and they've also been consistently good as a club, going for titles. Of course, that Supporters Shield that your team won about 2-3 years ago, I think that's what it was. They won Supporters Shield Cincinnati.
It's a couple of years ago at this point, yeah.
A couple of years. So, other than that, who else should we be looking for in this matchup for Cincinnati? Anyone from Cincy 2 that has an opportunity to make this club possibly get opportunities in these Champions Cup games?
I think for sure, right? I mean, you have a four-goal lead going into match day 2, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of the young players get an opportunity to play on the first team. Andre Chirilla made the start, kind of, if we're talking about younger players, for FC Cincinnati in the away fixture. I assume he also gets some valuable minutes here at home at TQL Stadium on Wednesday when they match up again. Also Obina Nwobodo, he's definitely not a young player in the sense that he's not a second team player, but he played the full 90 in O&M. He didn't feature at all, or I guess he featured very late in the matchup over this weekend. So I would expect him to get decent amount of minutes against O&M at home, maybe just off the bench or maybe as a starter to get 45 minutes. We'll see what he does, but he obviously, the quality that he has as a number 6 in that midfield would bring a lot of stability for Cincinnati.
No, it really would. And, not just stability, but, you need a veteran presence out there to try and make sure that everyone is attacking. They're all on the same page, and you're going to try and get that victory and move on to the round of 16. Haven't really checked the bracket too much to see, who's going to be the next opponent when you do advance into the round of 16. I know, I might jinx them. I'm not trying to jinx them. I'm just trying to see who they're facing next. I'm trying to take a look and see who they're going to be playing against, obviously, and I guess they'll be taking on the winner of let's see here. Let's take on the winner of, I guess, Tigres. You're going to take on Tigres, and of course, facing Tigres, if it does happen, Kenta, that's always going to be a very difficult matchup against that club.
Of course, they're a very competitive side, and obviously we know how good Liga MX sides are, especially when they're playing at home. I mean, that home field advantage is massive for them when they play. So, yeah, they're going to be a tough team. But we also saw Forge play a very competitive first match against them. So, I'd expect Cincinnati to go in with full confidence if and when that matchup comes around to try to move on past the round of 16.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens there. But other than that, Kenta, excited for the next second match for this second leg. Obviously, you have the away goals advantage, of course, especially on the aggregate 4-0. Once again, I don't think O&M is going to give any issues, but then again, you never know who's officiating the match. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And who are we expecting to see? Is it going to be a full starting, senior lineup, or are we going to get the kids from Cincinnati too to get that opportunity?
Yeah, I'm assuming it'll be a very heavily rotated lineup. Maybe some of the players that haven't featured from the first team in the first two matches will get some minutes in terms of just keeping form and fitness, but I wouldn't expect this to be anything other than just a lot of the younger players getting an opportunity to prove themselves and gain valuable experience at a continental competition.
Yeah. So let me ask you, this summer, obviously, the World Cup will be here. Did you get any tickets to watch Japan? Are you going to travel to watch Japan play any matches?
We'll see. I am considering at this point covering those matches in Dallas, the two matches when they play their group stage matches, Japan. But no, we're in the thick of it in terms of trying to do kind of World Cup preparation and coverage with my podcast and all that in terms of the Asian soccer world. So it's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and I can't believe it's already like the year. It's already 2026, and we're already almost in March, right?
I know, exactly. We're going to be in March in about 4 or 5 days, something like that. 4 or 5 days, I think it is. Let's see, today's the 23rd. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, this coming Sunday will be the 1st of March. That's the one thing about February, my friend. If it's not a leap year, it's a quick month. So we gotta make sure that we take care of it 1, 2, 3, and everything and like that. All right. Well, listen, Kenta, I always appreciate your time. Hope to have you back on again next week for the second leg review this coming Friday. And look, good luck with Cincinnati on Wednesday. It should be a victory. I don't see why it should not be, but you never know in this confederation. The craziness always shows itself at the weirdest of times.
Yes. Obviously, are you in New York right now still, or?
No, I'm in South Florida now. I'm in South Florida.
Look at you! Escaped the blizzard weather. It's
permanently. Unfortunately, it's a permanent escape of the blizzard. It's I'm down in South Florida now, but
gotcha.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Unfortunately, some of these things, life happens, and it had to be done. Unfortunately, but I'll find a way to get back up there. Don't worry. I'll find a way to get back up.
I was gonna say you escaped the worst of the blizzard apparently right now on Monday. So
yep, exactly. I basically escaped the conundrum of being snowed in. So I don't have. These are no longer the shoveling arms they used to be, Kenta. Nope, I got a balcony out there, and I got sunshine coming in. I promised I wouldn't do the weather game, but hey, whatever. What are you gonna do? That's what it is for me now these days. But I don't think of myself as a Floridian. I will never think myself as a Floridian. I'm a New Yorker at heart. That's where I always will be. So. But I will talk to you on Friday. Thanks again.
Yes.
Have a good night, and talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah, talk soon.
As talk soon. Kenta Hagiwara of Area Sportsnet in Cincinnati, covering FC Cincinnati for that publication. Join me next, of course. This man is all the way in Vancouver, British Columbia, by the way of Scotland. And of course, he does cover the Whitecaps over for his site Away from the Numbers. It is the one and only Michael McCall. And I do not see a broom, nor do I see a curling stone in your shot.
No, very, very disappointed with how the curling went on Saturday morning. That was a very good 2.5 hours, and then a horrible last half hour.
Yes, it was, unfortunately. But still, though, it was a lot of fun. Before we get into this, let me just tell it to the audience real quickly here. With my publication, Bad Dog Sports, it's not just we do everything in North America. We also try and do everything in Europe and around the world, globally. We were doing the Winter Olympics. And so my managing editor says to me, well, besides ice hockey, what other sport would you like to cover in the Winter Olympics? And look, I took a shine to curling. I liked it. There's strategy. There is, excitement. When you throw the stones, you're hoping for it does its job. It does enough to clear the house, or as we'll call it, the target for those that want layman's terms. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, Michael, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not on our chats off the air, but let's just say that I guess I found an audience I never knew I had. It was fantastic. I had each article was over 500,000 views. I could not believe it.
Wow.
Yes, 500,000 views on the U.S. mixed doubles, the U.S. women, the U.S. men, and that was 23, 24 articles in. I still had more, and I haven't, I don't have the total numbers yet. But for my mixed doubles gold medal game in the final for the U.S. against Sweden, that was over 2 million.
Wow, that's
I am
incredible.
shocked. I am shocked. And at least I know in Westchester County, which is the first county north of New York City, in a small town called Ardsley, there's a curling house and a curling club. So at least I know where they are, because they were mentioned a long time ago when curling was brought back into the Winter Olympics. I think it was when it was in Japan in Nagano. I think it was in 1998, I think. I could be wrong, though. For the year, I mean. But I knew, it was in Nagano, I know. I think I might be mistaken on the year of that Winter Olympic Games. But I was completely shocked. I couldn't believe what happened.
It's very popular. It gets a lot of TV coverage here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't just show the international teams, they have the domestic curling, and TSN show it. And I would say there's probably 3 to 4 times the amount of hours of coverage on TSN of curling than there is of soccer.
Yeah. And hey, look,
it's a fun sport. It's kind of like chess on ice, because it is very tactical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it really is. You call it chess on ice. I call it shuffleboard on ice. It's the same thing. It's really the same thing. But let's get into the match now, because I know we've been on a tangent here for a bit. I have to say, for Vancouver, that was a very difficult match. I thought Cartagena's came in. They knew who they were facing. They knew that they were the finalists in last season's Champions Cup tournament. What did you thought of the game plan from Cartagena's, and what did you think about what Vancouver tried to do in that match?
I think the game kind of went the way that we expected it to go. We knew when you look at some of the sides that the other MLS teams had, this was one of the tougher games. Cartagena's are doing well right now in the Costa Rican league. We know that they weren't scoring a lot, but we also knew that they haven't given up many goals in both the Apertura and the Clausura. So I thought it was going to be a cagey affair. I was quite surprised that Cartagena's they weren't more aggressive. And Jesper Sorensen kind of touched on that after the game as well. You kind of thought at home they would kind of go for it a little bit, but maybe their game plan has been let's just make sure the Whitecaps don't score, because then if we can nick a goal in the second leg, it's going to make it really tough then for Vancouver to score 2 against us. So I think that was their game plan. If the Whitecaps had broken through and got a goal, I think it would have been a whole different result, because Cartagena would have to have opened up. And then I think by that point, the Whitecaps might have maybe added a second. But 0-0, not the end of the world. You've got to remember, last year, they went down to Saprissa and they lost that first game. And this is a Whitecaps team that, even after Saturday's game against RSL, Jesper Sorensen spoke, they're still searching for their rhythm. They're still trying to integrate the new guys into the team. There's new guys that haven't joined up with the team yet. So the Whitecaps that you're seeing now is going to be very different to the Whitecaps that you'd probably see in a month's time.
Did you catch Thomas Mueller's pre-game interview with the MLS 360 guys?
No, I saw it on YouTube, but I haven't watched it yet.
You're gonna have a laugh at the back end of it. It's hilarious. I don't want to ruin it for you, but trust me, you'll have a laugh. It's great.
He's a funny guy. Like, we have a lot of laughs with him, because he's doing more media than we maybe thought he would do, judging by some of the other big name stars in MLS over the years. But you get a joke with him before he sits down. He has a little joke with you afterwards as well. Brings the jokes during the official on-air stuff. He's a joy to be around, and the players have all welcomed him. He's welcomed Vancouver, and he's a great addition to the league.
He really is. See, he's not a typical German. He's not a stiff shirt.
No, I would say, and I do say this to Manuel Veth, who is German, I don't feel Germans have a good sense of humor, and he goes against that.
He does. Actually, I will say this. When Sandro Schwarz was the Red Bulls head coach, he is actually a pretty good guy too. He's a funny guy too, We have him during the the pre-game press conferences, not the before the game, but the 2 days before the game. And he jokes around with all of us, before, during, after. Very, very down to earth man, very nice guy. I had my fair share of yucks with him. It was great. He, at times he can be the straight man, but sometimes he can really throw some zingers at you. It was really cool. I'll talk to you off the air about the one time. You'll love this. You're gonna love it. I'll tell you later on off air. But it was really funny. Really great guy. Unfortunately, not here anymore. But hey, look, Red Bulls have a good one in Michael Bradley at this point in time right now.
Oh, yes.
One match only, but still though. If that's the appetizer, wait for the main course, because it should be really.
I was very impressed by them on Saturday, and we're doing in our podcast that's coming out later tonight. We're doing our MLS predictions, and my heart, my head says the Eastern final is going to be Miami against possibly Nashville, but my heart is I think the Red Bulls could get to that Eastern final.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. So far, match number 1 is in the books. That's for sure. But Sorensen right now, in this first leg matchup, as you said, they're trying to still integrate some players. They're trying to find their rhythm. Did you feel that maybe the off season kind of disrupted some of that rhythm before the season began?
It did, for a couple of reasons. One, we lost 2 key pieces on the wing, in Ali Ahmed and Jaden Nelson. Between them, 20 assists, 8 goals across all competitions. So you're trying to replace that, and they both played wing roles. So we've brought wingers in. One of them hasn't got his visa yet, Bruno Caicedo, who is a really highly rated Ecuadorian talent. So he'll take a month possibly to kind of get up to speed and integrated in the team. We've got Sheikh Sabali, who can play in the middle. He can play out wide as well. He's just arrived on Friday, and maybe good to do a little cameo on Wednesday, depending how the game's going, for 5-10 minutes. But if not, then maybe the coming Saturday against Toronto. But the pre-season, They had 5 games scheduled for getting played in Marbella. The first one was played in monsoon conditions, and you kind of needed a submarine to navigate the pitch. It only got played because they'd gone all that way. They played their second game, then their third game was postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. So they lost all that playing time that would have really been good to get some of that chemistry going. You've then had guys like AZ Jackson that's arrived later to the camp. Emmanuel Sabe didn't play in any of the preseason games. He was missing for some personal reasons at the start, and then it's taken him a little bit of time to kind of get his match fitness. So only managed 45 minutes against Cartagena. 68 minutes, I think it was, on Saturday against the RSL. So he's still coming up to speed as well. So when you kind of factor all that in, there's a lot of reasons why the rhythm's not there yet.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and let's talk about that second leg right now. Obviously, it's 0-0. The away goal is in favor of Cartagena, obviously, and we talked about they might look to nick a goal against you guys. Well, obviously, you have to be more than careful when you're going to be home this week against them. What worries you about this matchup? Is it because of the possibility of them nicking that away goal, or it's because of, like you said, your wingers are not up to speed and there might be an issue at home? I don't think it will be, I believe, but look, you know more than I do, obviously, so I defer to you.
I mean, I don't think it will be a tough outing. I think they'll win 2-0 at least. The away goal looms large because that is a big part of how the Whitecaps got to the final last year, is what they did in the road games. That said, I didn't see anything from Cartagena in the first leg that made me think that they're going to break down a very good Whitecaps defence. And they've started the year with 2 clean sheets. So they're doing well. They're mixing it up. Who's playing there as well? The key focus is always going to be MLS. But Thomas Muller has already come out and said that for him, the priority in this first part of the season is Champions Cup, because he wants to win a trophy. He wants to win the Champions Cup. It's a nice little addition to his resume that he's won another international competition. And he's going to be driving them and wanting to perform and wanting to get them over the line. They should be way too strong for Cartagena. And I think you will see on Wednesday a mix-up again of the starting lineup with maybe some of the big hitters on the bench. My big concern really for the Whitecaps just now, though, is they're not getting Brian White involved in the play. We saw it on Saturday against RSL. Him and Thomas Muller aren't quite on the same page yet. They don't have that kind of connection that Ryan Gauld and Brian White had. And that's understandable because they didn't play a lot of games together last year because of Brian's injuries, and then Thomas had injuries as well. So they're still getting that chemistry going. And there was a few times on Saturday that White was open for a pass and they went a different way. Muller not alone in that, but other players as well. So they need to get that going. And if they can get that going, the goals will start flowing. That said, I'm not 100% sure Brian White starts this game on Wednesday. I think they go with Ryan Illumi up front. He didn't feature at all on Saturday, and you have to think they've kept him back to start this. He might get an hour, see how it goes, and then put Brian White on for the last half hour. So as long as the Whitecaps get that first goal, it's going to force Cartagena to open up, and as soon as they open up, they'll get picked off.
What was it like for you at the end of 2025? You made 3 finals. Champions Cup final. Unfortunately, you fell to Cruz Azul. You make the Canadian Championship final again. You defeat Vancouver FC to win it. You go to the MLS Cup final. You go to Miami, and you lose. Unfortunately, you fall to them. But
don't forget the Western Conference final. That's 4 finals.
Oh, yeah, the Western Conference final. That's true. You went to the Western Conference final. That's very true. Very true. So that's 4 finals you went to. 2 for 4. Not bad. But overall, what was that feeling for you and the entire city of Vancouver to see this magical season happen and you take 2 out of 4 trophies?
I think if you ask this question right after the MLS Cup or even that weekend, maybe even on the Monday, you would get a different answer because there was excitement. There was a lot of pride in how the team had done, but there was also a tinge of disappointment because everyone felt, and all the players felt, that they were the better team in the final and they should have beat Miami. And if Sabe's 3-post chance had gone in, maybe we're talking a whole different thing here. That said, with a little bit of time to think about it, it's pride that is the overriding factor. Everyone is so proud of how the team did, how Jesper Sorensen came in and got this team playing above their levels. You had so many players that had career years. Sebastian Borhalter, Tristan Blackman, two of the obvious ones. Brian White has now had 4 career years in a row with the Whitecaps, and we keep saying, oh, can he do it again? And then he goes and does it again, and it is even better. But then you have young guys like Jeevan Badwal, JC Ngando, Tate Johnson as a rookie, Eddie Uracampo, Yohei Takaoka. They've all kind of had career years as well. So when you look back at that, this was a team that was absolutely flying. They just went up and were undone by arguably the greatest player of all time. And they had their chances to win that game. And it's lit a fire under them. The bar has been set so high that even when you go into a season opener against RSL with a team that's still finding its feet in the first game of the year, you keep a clean sheet, you get 3 points, but you're still disappointed that that wasn't good enough. And that is the level that they've now set for themselves as a club.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll see what they do in the Western Conference this year. And it should be a lot of fun. All I ask from you, Michael, is this. When you see the curling stone, don't do that, okay?
We're Scottish. We don't cheat.
That's right.
And we also invented the game, so we know how it should be played.
That's right. Absolutely.
And bar one bad ninth end, that gold should have been heading to the Scottish guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, anyway, Michael, I always appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Hope to hear from you again soon. And good luck with the rest of the season with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Thanks a lot,
Cheers,
as
Daniel.
always. Cheers. Michael McCall, away from the numbers, joining me here tonight. Of course, the other 2 matches involving both Los Angeles MLS clubs, LAFC, went to take on Real Espana. And, of course, hey, what do you expect? It's a destruction like no other. 6-1 for LAFC, 6 away goals, but they are an advantage of 5 right now. As well, actually, it is 6 on the away goals. Aggregate leading 6-1. Bawanga once again with a hat trick. So, what else you're going to get? Of course, Son Heung-min getting his goal on the penalty spot. And Jack Jean-Baptiste getting the lone goal for Real Espana after it was 5-0 through the first half. 5 big goals in the first half. And LAFC going back to BMO Stadium in downtown Los Angeles. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. And then, of course, you have, they got the away goal, the Galaxy, even though it feels like it's a lost situation. Yes, they got the away goal from Joseph Pansel, even though they were beaten soundly in that 37th minute by Rodrigo Tello from Sporting San Miguelito. Look, if the Galaxy can do the job back at home, then great. If not, then look, what are you going to do? You take that away goal home. But then again, you're going to have to score some more at home because now the away goal advantage is going towards Sporting San Miguelito. So we're just going to have to be careful with that one, of course. But other than that, I want to thank my guests tonight. I want to thank Evan Konigsberg of Philadelphia Soccer Now. I also want to thank Valair Schballa from 615 Soccer, Kenta Hagiwara from Area Sportsnet covering FC Cincinnati, and, of course, Michael McCall from Away from the Numbers on the Vancouver Whitecaps. Join me tomorrow night, special for the Red Bull show. This is just for tomorrow for Four Fire American Soccer Show. And I have on James Burrell covering, of course, the big victory for the former U.S. men's national team player and captain. And, of course, he is now the head coach of the New York Red Bulls, of Red Bull New York. And that is Michael Bradley. He'll be joining, James Burrell will be joining me tonight to talk about his victory, his first victory as a head coach in Major League Soccer. Great time to talk about. And then this Friday, it will be the second leg review show for the CONCACAF Champions Cup first round, second leg of reviewing all MLS clubs. But my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. Hope you all enjoyed it. And please don't forget, as always, please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long. And have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care and have a good night.